Now, Metro Police have charged Now magazine with 14 counts of communicating for the purpose of prostitution. The charges relate to notices that appeared in the magazine's personal advertising section. CFTO's Sean Murray reports.
These are the ads causing all the controversy. They've got the magazine into trouble before. Now was banned from North York City Hall in the spring of 1987. But executive editor Alice Klein says they provide a service to the public.
These are small businesses, many of them that are run outside of the intervention of pimps, basically, because this is a method which allows people to operate more or less independently and without incurring some of the dangers of street prostitution.
Editor and publisher Michael Hollett argues the ads are similar to, but more honest than, ads that run in the mainstream daily newspapers and the yellow pages. Lawyer Clayton Ruby is representing Now and says restrictions on advertising constitute restrictions on freedom of the press.
The issue of what shall be published and what shall be communicated is reserved to the press itself, not to the state. And government cannot intrude in this way by deciding what things may not be talked about and discussed.
Now magazine will appear before a judge September 28th to set a date for a trial. Clayton Ruby hopes to have the case heard as soon as possible in order, he says, to have the matter of Now's personal ads settled once and for all. Sean Murray, CFTO News.
Now, which is a free magazine designed to entertain, inform, and titillate, finds itself facing police charges. Metropolitan Toronto Police today served the entertainment-style magazine with a summons that includes 14 counts of communicating for the purpose of engaging in prostitution. The publication's business-personal section has been called offensive by some members of the public. Sue Scambatti has the details.
It's the first case of its kind in Canada. A Toronto newspaper, Now magazine, has been charged with 14 counts of communicating for the purpose of prostitution. Staff Superintendent Jim Clark says the charge stems from advertisements in Now's business personal classified section.
Well, there are some ads that describe the physical attributes of some people and are making themselves available for sexual activities for money.
Police began investigating Now several months ago after receiving numerous complaints from the public. Now magazine is a weekly publication that's distributed free of charge throughout the city of Toronto. It has a circulation of 94,000 copies.
We have been a mirror on the city of Toronto for 9 years, and we're holding that mirror up to the city of Toronto. And if they don't like what they see, don't blame the messenger.
Now's lawyer Clayton Ruby says that communicating for the purpose of prostitution is illegal when it takes place in public, not in print.
What Now magazine has done is enable the communication to take place without breaking the law, off the street, without the social harm involved in that. And now the police want to charge them.
Ruby adds the charge violates freedom of the press. Police have other concerns.
And they're put in paper boxes similar to other dailies. And there's no control as to who picks out the magazine, so young people can pick it out. There's no age restriction or control in this.
Now magazine claims it's being singled out by police for its critical coverage of policing issues. Police maintain they have enough evidence to support the charge. The case goes to court on September 28th. Sue Scambatti, Global News, Toronto.
The weekly arts and entertainment tabloid Now magazine was charged this morning with 14 counts of communication for the purpose of prostitution. The charges stem from the personal business advertisements carried in that magazine. Now says the issue is freedom of the press. George Lagajanis was at their offices today.
Now magazine has been charged with communicating for the purposes of prostitution in a public place. They are not guilty of these charges. Prostitution has never been an offense under the law of Canada. What Now magazine has done is enable the communication to take place without breaking the law, off the street, without the social harm involved in that.
Our job is to reflect the city honestly and without compromise. We have been a mirror on the city of Toronto for 9 years, and we're holding that mirror up to the city of Toronto. And if they don't like what they see, don't blame the messenger. The sex trade is part of this city. Our paper has never been afraid of confronting the truth and letting the people of Toronto experience it. And we're certainly not prepared to sweep this issue under the carpet right now.
As Now magazine gears up for its 9th annual party next week at Nathan Phillips Square, They say it's business as usual and that the personal ads will run as are. Now will appear in court on September 28th. I'm George Lagajanis for City Pulse.
And Toronto police today charged Now magazine, a weekly, with 14 prostitution-related offenses. Justin Smallbridge is standing by with that story. Justin.
Thank you very much, Hillary. Now magazine has indeed been charged with this offense. The charges specifically are communicating for the purposes of prostitution. Now maintains that it is not breaking the law by allowing the prostitutes to advertise. As a matter of fact, it says that the ads in its business personal section are protected under constitutional guarantees of free speech.
The charges stem from the business personal section of the paper's classified ads. They're ads for prostitutes. The police say they acted because of complaints.
We received a number of complaints from people within the community, and as a result of those complaints, we, along with consultations with the Crown Attorney, this morning laid 14 charges against the corporation Now magazine.
The charges are communicating for the purposes of prostitution. That's in the criminal code, although prostitution itself isn't a crime. Conviction carries a maximum penalty of a $2,000 fine and/or 6 months in jail. It's the first time these charges have been laid against a publication in Toronto. Now says that running the ads helps cut down on street prostitution.
The business personals are an alternative to this problem, which is actually better for the community, better for women, protecting women from the harassment that goes on the streets, and allowing prostitutes to carry on a trade which is age-old.
We have been a mirror on the City of Toronto for 9 years, and we're holding that mirror up to the City of Toronto, and if they don't like what they see, don't blame the messenger.
Lawyer Clayton Ruby has been hired to defend the magazine against the charges. He says there's also the issue of free speech involved here.
What's a breach of the law is communicating with prostitution in a public place. We don't think we do that at all. But even if we did do that, when you do it in a newspaper, which is an obligation under the Constitution to reflect the community, that is not a crime, that is not an offense. That's constitutionally protected free speech.
And that is a fact. As a matter of fact, advertising is protected under constitutional guarantees of free speech. That's one of the things that Clayton Ruby will be arguing when he represents the magazine in connection with these charges. The first court appearance in connection with this case is scheduled for September the 28th. Hillary?